7 months old. That's all the time baby Emmanuel Haro had in this world. He never learned to walk, never spoke his first word, and never had a chance to grow up. His life was stolen, and the worst part? It didn't have to happen, because the man accused of killing him, his own father, had already destroyed another child's future. Years earlier, Jake Haro beat his newborn daughter so severely that she will spend the rest of her life bedridden. Doctors called it catastrophic abuse. But instead of prison, Jake was given probation. He walked free. And now, Emmanuel is gone. This isn't just a tragedy, it's a failure of justice, a failure of protection, and a failure. 7 months. That's all Emmanuel Haro was given. A baby so small, so pure, whose only crime was being born into the wrong hands. Picture his tiny smile, his soft giggles, his innocent eyes staring up, trusting the very people who were supposed to protect him. He should have been crawling across the floor, reaching for his mother's embrace, or falling asleep to lullabies. Instead, investigators now believe Emmanuel's short life was filled with pain and ended in silence. On August 17th, the world was told he had been kidnapped. His mother, Rebecca, called 911 in tears, claiming she had been attacked in a Big Five parking lot in Yucaipa and that Emmanuel was stolen during the chaos. Instantly, his picture spread everywhere. Amber alerts lit up phones. Strangers dropped what they were doing to search fields, alleys, and parking lots. People prayed for a miracle. Families held their own babies tighter, terrified of how fragile safety really is. But while the world searched outside, Emmanuel's truth was already buried in the shadows of his own home. He wasn't taken by strangers. He wasn't lost. Authorities now believe Emmanuel was already gone before that 911 call was ever made. And here's the part that should haunt all of us. Emmanuel's face on those Amber Alerts wasn't a call for rescue. It was a cover-up. While the community searched for hope, his parents were hiding the darkest truth of all. And this is why his story matters. Because silence allowed Emmanuel's cries to go unheard. And if we look away now, if we stay silent too, more children could be lost the same way. Don't scroll past this. Share his name. Subscribe, not for me, but for Emmanuel, so his story and the voices of countless other children are never ignored again. At first, the world believed. We all did. The Amber Alerts, the frantic phone calls, the desperate prayers. Everything pointed to a baby ripped from his mother's arms in broad daylight. But detectives began to notice something chilling. The story didn't add up. Security cameras in the parking lot showed nothing. Witnesses saw nothing. No car speeding away, no stranger lurking. Nothing. Piece by piece, investigators pulled the thread and the entire story began to unravel. Then came the breaking point. Rebecca, Emmanuel's mother, stopped cooperating with detectives. She wouldn't answer the simplest questions. She wouldn't clarify her timeline. And in that silence, the truth began to echo louder than her words. Days later, in a dramatic raid, both Rebecca and Jake Haro were taken away in handcuffs. The world that once prayed for Emmanuel's safe return now gasped in horror as the truth was revealed. Emmanuel had not been kidnapped. He had been abused for months, and investigators believe he was already gone long before that desperate 911 call was ever made. Think about that. While we were searching the streets, hanging onto hope, Emmanuel's little body was already hidden away, silenced by the very people who should have loved him most. This isn't just a story about lies. It's a story about betrayal at the deepest level. And if this makes your heart ache, it should, because babies like Emmanuel don't get second chances. If we look away now, if we choose silence like his parents did, then how many other children will slip through the cracks? Don't just listen. Stand with him. Share his name. Subscribe so that stories like Emmanuel's are not erased by the lies that tried to bury them. Behind Emmanuel's death lies an even darker truth, one that makes the story almost unbearable. This was not the first time Jake Haro's violence destroyed a child's life. Years earlier, prosecutors revealed Jake brutally beat his newborn daughter when she was only 2 months old. The abuse was so severe that she is now permanently bedridden, unable to ever live a normal life. But here's the part that should make every parent, every neighbor, every human being furious. Despite that horrific crime, Jake never truly faced hard prison time. He slipped through the cracks of the system, served minimal punishment, and was allowed to return home, free to start another family, free to repeat the cycle. And repeat it, he did. Emmanuel was only 7 months old when the same hands that should have cradled him became the very weapons that ended his life. We cannot ignore the question, why was Jake free? Why was Emmanuel ever placed back in the care of parents with such a history? This wasn't just a tragedy, it was a preventable tragedy. Emmanuel was born already vulnerable, already living under the shadow of violence that should have been stopped long ago. Instead, his short life became another chapter in a story of abuse the system failed to end. And here's the hard truth. If we don't demand accountability, if we don't speak up for Emmanuel, then more children will be sacrificed to the same failures. If you're watching this, don't just sit with anger. Turn it into action. Speak his name. Share his story. Subscribe, because these truths must keep echoing long after the courtroom doors close. If Jake's violence was the fire that destroyed Emmanuel, Rebecca's silence was the fuel that kept it burning. Investigators believe Rebecca knew exactly what was happening to her baby. Emmanuel was not a one-time victim. His little body showed signs of ongoing abuse, bruises, injuries, the kind of pain no child should ever endure. And yet, the woman who gave birth to him, the one person Emmanuel should have been able to trust above all others, stayed silent. Then, when Emmanuel's tiny body could no longer fight, instead of seeking help, instead of crying out for justice, Rebecca picked up the phone and spun a lie that shook an entire community. She claimed a stranger had attacked her in a parking lot. She begged for her baby back, knowing he was already gone. Do you feel the weight of that betrayal? A mother's arms should be a shield, not a grave. Her voice should have been Emmanuel's protection, not his cover-up. The truth is this: Rebecca wasn't just a bystander, she became a co-conspirator in Emmanuel's final moments. And that is why she now faces charges of murder and torture, not just for what she did, but for what she refused to do. Emmanuel's cries could have been answered, his life could have been spared, but silence killed him as much as violence did. And this is where I ask you, don't let Rebecca's silence echo louder than Emmanuel's voice. Share his story. Let people know what really happened. Subscribe, because if we don't keep these stories alive, the silence wins again. Now, the case has moved into the courtroom. Jake and Rebecca Haro, once free to walk among us, now sit in shackles, facing charges of murder and torture. But here's the hard truth. Emmanuel should never have been in their care to begin with. The prosecutor laid it out plainly. Jake's history of abusing another baby was no secret. The system knew. Records existed. And yet, a man who once shattered the life of his newborn daughter was giving another chance to father a child. That failure cost Emmanuel his life. Inside the courtroom, you could feel the tension. Every detail shared by investigators painted a picture darker than the one before. Every word reminded the world of how preventable this tragedy truly was. And as the charges were read, as Rebecca and Jake stared blankly ahead, the question in everyone's mind was the same. How many more children have to die before change comes? And this is where you, the audience, come in. Emmanuel can't speak anymore, but you can. His story isn't just news, it's a mirror held up to our society. So let me ask you, where are you watching this from right now? Drop it in the comments. Are you a parent? Do you have a little one at home? How do you feel knowing Emmanuel never got the chance to live the life your child has? And I'm asking you, with the weight of Emmanuel's story in your heart, don't just feel sadness, don't just feel anger, do something. Hit subscribe, not for me, but for Emmanuel, because every new voice added here means his name echoes louder, his story travels farther, and his short life will not be erased by silence. The system failed Emmanuel. His parents betrayed him, but we cannot let the world forget him.